Hello and welcome to all the men and women of the West. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
And honestly, I am very excited for this Warcraft video. This is a video we've been waiting weeks to do. I'm really excited for this. The Fall of Kings. Because they're mirror images of each other archetypally. And here's the thing, they're always going to die at the same time, or around the same time. That is what's so awesome about their fall. And honestly, this is one of the best parts of the entire Warcraft mythos. With both their falls being the culmination of months, possibly years, of preparation by two very different characters. Both of them schemers. One of them evil, the other good. I absolutely love this plot point. Sorry, I know I keep gushing, but this is just Warcraft at its finest. In terms of storytelling, that is. So let's discuss these two sides. We'll start with the Alliance. In regards to the fall of Lane, it happens just as the orcs are throwing everything they've got against Stormwind's walls. Garona and Khadgar arrive to report on their mission to have Medivh taken care of. The thing is, Gul'dan had programmed into her using his magic the thought that she would have to kill her allies and friends. But the last thing Gul'dan did before he fell into a coma was activate this command within Garona. In case of emergency, because he figures, if I'm going down, I'm going to take them all down with me. Which leads to one of the most horrifying scenes and interesting scenes in Warcraft history. A prisoner in her own body, she moves to carve out Lane's heart. Sobbing because she's a prisoner in her own body, she tries to stop, but here's the thing, she actually can't, because she's, as said, a prisoner in her own body, all because of Gul'dan. Thus, she overpowers Lane, even as he's trying to understand what's going on, and she does this in front of Prince Varian, Lane's eldest son. This is honestly some of the darkest stuff in all of Warcraft history. And obviously Varian is scarred for life because he's between the ages of 6 and 9 years old, and he sees his father murdered brutally by someone who may or may not have been his father's mistress. This is going to affect you for the very rest of your entire life. His dad adored Garona, and she adored him. I mean, what does this do to a child? Varian can never be the same person ever again.
And in a way, he can never be convinced that Garona was a prisoner in her own body, no matter how much evidence, because of how he saw things.
Admittedly, a part of him will always loathe her. He's going to hold on to this memory, and it will scar him, as said, and on her end it'll scar her as well, because let's be honest, she never wanted to hurt Lane, but what could she do? She was a prisoner in her own body, hence why she was crying when she was doing this misdeed. On Varian's end, he could not understand why she was sobbing, so that also remains with him, so that her tears plant within him the seeds of forgiveness for the orc race, just as her murderous dagger planted the seeds of hatred for them as well. While on some level he understands that they're not all Gul'dan, another part of him can't help himself. Later in life, he does learn the truth, so that he has mixed feelings, no matter what, regarding the orc race. So this is a defining moment for Varian as a character, and he is a great one, so he needs this kind of moment to help define and set him on his path. For Garona, this is when her character truly breaks, and all that awaits her is to be tortured to death by Orgrim Doomhammer. But we'll get to that in a minute. For Lane, this is the ultimate betrayal, and he goes to his grave broken and shocked at this betrayal. In the end, though, Lane was not the only one heartbroken, hope you all liked the pun, as Anduin Lothar had also adored Garona. So that Lothar never really got over this betrayal. As for Khadgar, he also loved Garona. Man, she sure got around, that's for sure. Khadgar, though, would try to understand why she did what she did and understand what happened. On the Horde's end, this is a very important moment. It is now that Orgrim Doomhammer, who had been waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike, strikes. Aware that he'll never get another opportunity like this, he finally seeks to dethrone Blackhand, the schmuck occupying his rightful place. Hitherto this moment, Doomhammer has had to swallow the murder of his best friend and the massacre of the Frost Wolves, whom Doomhammer would end up offering a lot of his protection to and would unify with the Black Rocks. Though he had obviously profited from the massacre of the Frost Wolves, this did not mean he approved of what Blackhand had done to Durotan. While Blackhand and Gul'dan were still standing and united, he could not act, so he had to bide his time. For he was well aware of the one proverb, revenge is a dish best served cold. And Blackhand, who had suspected nothing of Doomhammer's true intentions, same in the case of Gul'dan, was completely taken by surprise by Doomhammer's next move, which took place as soon as Gul'dan was in a coma. Doomhammer races on over and challenges Blackhand to a Mak Gora, a duel to the death. It is the sort of duel that Blackhand cannot refuse. And Doomhammer easily wins, crushing Blackhand's skull with his family heirloom, from which he also gets his moniker, Doomhammer. The balance of power is completely overturned, and Doomhammer proclaims himself the new war chief, to the immense approval and rapturous applause and cheers of his people, who had come to hate Blackhand, who ruled with an iron fist. They didn't fear Blackhand himself because he's fairly weak in every sense of the word. It was Gul'dan they feared, who has his fell magic and his secret council. It was Doomhammer who proved that you could defy them and that they could be conquered. Following up on his usurpation, Doomhammer was to restore the siege of Stormwind. As to the reasons for why Doomhammer usurped Blackhand, it was to bring him to justice, as well as to reinvigorate the Horde. Now, to justice because of the crimes against Blackhand's own daughter and against Durotan. All of that aside, he probably should have done in Gul'dan when he had the chance, as this is a mistake that would come back to haunt him later on in the war. And the orcs have good reason to love Doomhammer. He's faithful to their traditional values, he treats them with respect, he's honorable, and he has saved them from the kind of madness that Gul'dan and Blackhand were prone to. But what is more is that he is also victorious, something that Gul'dan and Blackhand aren't very good at bringing them, as they're both fairly incompetent. What is more is that unlike Gul'dan, who only dreams of using even his own people as a source of magical energy or as pawns for the Burning Legion, Doomhammer actually has a set goal for his people. That is to say, his goal is to turn Stormwind into an orc-run kingdom. It'd probably be an amalgamation of Stormwindian culture and civilization with that of the Horde. So, in a way, this would probably be a fascinating civilization to see rise up. The sad truth of it is, it doesn't. And Blizzard never considers this option, this possibility, which would be an interesting what if. I mean, it would have been really interesting had Doomhammer had sons who were trying to lay claim to the Stormwind throne and challenge Varian. Heck, if they won, it would have been really interesting to see orc faction within the Alliance, and where you have the Doomhammer dynasty. That's what it could have been. That would have been fascinating. But, instead we got Thrall. Heck, even if the Horde ended up with a war chief who has Stormwind as their main kingdom, that'd be pretty cool. But the trouble is, I don't think Blizzard was terribly interested in the story of the battle for the throne of Stormwind, which is a shame. There's a great story that could have been written there. Honestly, I'm more invested in the lineage of Doomhammer than I am in the Frostwolves. No offense.
None taken, and I agree. Durotan and the Frostwolves
were interesting, but more as a tragedy.
Yes, they served their purpose as far as the story goes.
Maybe it should have been his sons that became the next generation. Or even if you want Thrall, maybe there should have been 2 orc campaigns in Warcraft 3. One which follows Thrall, and the other that follows Doomhammer's lineage. And where Doomhammer's lineage get the hammer and the armor, and Thrall just flees off to Kalimdor. That would have been really cool, but they didn't go that route, because it was too cool for them. As to the Alliance, they're in chaos at the loss of their king. It's not their fault. Medivh betrayed them, and then within 48 hours, their king was slain by one of them that helped save the Alliance from Medivh. What is Stormwind to make of this?
What?
And this just cut off the head of the snake, in a way. The Alliance are basically going, yay! The heads of the Horde are gone. Oh, shoot. The new leader is even cooler and more badass than the Old leaders. Oh, that's not good. Just as they lose their own leaders. They went from victory over Medivh and Gul'dan, with Khadgar probably the greatest hero of Stormwind here. Like, he just saved the day from Gul'dan, Medivh, Sargeras, all in one blow, to now Garona slaying Lane, securing the victory for the Horde. There is no coming back from this for Stormwind. Everything is in chaos. And obviously Khadgar's tired and weakened from his battle and from the curse placed on him, and he's got to figure out what he's going to do. And you have Anduin Lothar, who rides in to save the children, because somebody's got to, and he's got to get them away to Lordaeron. He doesn't have much of a choice because Stormwind has fallen. And I'm not trying to overstate Lane's importance. The king is the realm in physical shape. This was the worst possible scenario that could happen. And it's why it's so cool, and it's such a great plot point and plot twist. And archetypally, it is so important because the Shadow King falls just as the true king falls. Archetypally, you have Blackhand and Lane, both of them not very good warrior kings. So one's a false king and is a puppet. The other is more a priestly king. They both fall. And in turn, Medivh has fallen and Gul'dan is temporarily out of commission. This leaves the way open for Doomhammer. And this is probably almost Doomhammer's finest hour. Well, outside basically conquering all of Stormwind.
And Lane did not deserve that.
Heck no, he didn't. But it's still an interesting plot point. Next time, we're going to continue with the Chronicles of the First Wars. Either that or maybe we'll do a character video. Yeah, let's do a character video next time. I really want to discuss some of the characters.
All right.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button as though you were Doomhammer crushing Blackhand's skull with his Doomhammer.